All right. Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Give me a little hands up or something, letting me know that you can hear me. Oh, thank you, Heather. Joe, appreciate it. Alrighty, well, it looks like everything's going, so I'll go ahead and get started here. So today that we're going to be talking about is preparing end of year reports. Very important topic, right in a timely fashion of where we're at this year. My name is Andrew. I'm a client experience specialist here. Work under Charles, the guy who normally does these demos. I think we're all glad to not see him here today. Just kidding. But pretty much we're just doing a quick little webinar here. It's going to be a super fast 10-15 minute webinar about doing end of year reports, how to do them, how to set them up automatically if you're interested in that, kind of getting an idea of what your accountant wants, all that fun stuff. Please, again, if you guys have customers waiting, if you have anything like that, please go help them out. This is all being recorded. It will be on our website to be reviewed at a later time. So if you need to go do anything else, please go ahead and do that. And besides that, if you have any questions at all, please go ahead and punch them in at the whenever time, but we will cover them at the end. So just be aware of that. Because I want to mostly get through this. Who knows, maybe your question will be answered by the time we get to the end of the webinar. So moving on here, we will go ahead and talk about, why are your end of year reports important? Preparing for end of year reporting, kind of like I said a little bit before, like you could set them up automated. You can set them to do them in one click of a button. There's a lot of different ways you can run these reports. Perform a computer audit and update. Follow best practices that we prefer here at Paladin. We can set up, test, and automate preset reports and put these reports at the top of your list. So, why are year-end reports important? Realistically, we want to capture as much important data in a snapshot as possible, mostly related within this year of time. Pretty much it's mostly tax related, mostly GL related. It's mostly just to make sure all of your numbers are set for everything you need to prove that what you had done for the sales and all that kind of fun stuff were good for that year. We, again, like I said, provide vital information for your GL and taxes, eliminate manual year-end inventory counting, which we'll get into a little bit more later on. Again, our best practices here at Paladin are to do cycle counts, not necessarily full inventory counts. It really helps, especially now that we are having such a weird problem with labor and all that kind of other stuff. It's a lot easier just to spend 20-30 minutes counting a 4-foot section or an 8-foot section than it is spending an entire day and 6 employees just scanning things. Next thing we'll do is measure our year-over-year growth and profitability. And the biggest thing is just setting the stage for next year, right? This is a lot of planning and looking at what went good and what went bad for this year, and so we can kind of improve on next year. And again, stimulate on goal setting, because that's going to be a huge part of moving into next year. Even though it's kind of hard with how crazy everything is to predict what's going to happen. All right, next up is what we want to do is preparing the reports. The biggest thing here is that we can run them automatically, aka you can set a specific time to just run them, and you can select all the reports that you want ran. They'll either print off, they'll pull them up in a PDF, and you can save them on the computer. There's many different things that we can do here, or you guys can run them manually. Next is perform cycle counting, kind of like I was talking about a little bit before. Really what we want to do is start, now would be a great time to start just counting the store, making sure all your numbers are good, making sure your stock on hand are all correct. And if you haven't been cycle counting, maybe it's a New Year's resolution to do it next year. Next thing is sell off as many non-performing assets as possible. Again, that is kind of just wanting to turn over your inventory, making sure that you guys are pushing out as much inventory you can possibly get out of the system. It's really important just to start fresh, right? You want to kind of get all of the non-performing assets out of there. And a good way of doing this is doing something called a cascading pricing plan. It is a little complex to kind of go over it in this webinar, and that's why one of Charles, my boss here, had done an excellent webinar on cascading pricing plans. So it's really good to just slowly start getting things on sale, getting them out of your store. People will start seeing these holiday discounts. They'll get turned over. Increasing collections of outstanding debt. So again, this is something your accountant's probably going to want to see, which we do have reporting on, is seeing how many customers are in outstanding debt. Maybe we can either reach out, start to collect, or whichever. Next thing we want to do is, and this is again important, is determine your store's metrics growth-wise for success. I mean, the biggest thing is you want to see how well you did this year and how well you could do next year. It's really good to see. This one's important for me. I like this one. The reason why is performing a computer audit and replacing outdated terminals is a huge benefit to the business. You really want to make sure that your equipment is running as efficiently as you guys are. That's the biggest part. And I know a lot of the times you guys have probably seen, oh my God, my computer is running so slow, and the software is just, like Windows is running slow, all that kind of fun stuff. And I think this is a really good time to replace those things. You want to make sure your hardware is up to date. You want to make sure that you have new barcode scanners, you have all this stuff to make sure that you can run through the entirety of next year. Because the big problem right now is we see people calling in all the time with slow computer problems, and then they just turn into this whole nightmare because they're running into so many problems with these slow computers. And again, replacing one at a time can really reduce the hit on cash flow, because I don't think you really need to go out and just replace every single computer, every single piece of hardware in your store. It's not exactly necessary, but it's good to maybe look at the oldest one and say, all right, it's done its job. Let's potentially look at getting a replacement done. Same goes with kind of what we listed here: printers, scanners, cash drawers, RF guns, just the whole works, because old hardware can be inefficient. Another thing that we offer, which our networking team does, is a network assessment to make sure that your devices are running stable and secure. We provide antiviruses, we provide firewalls, we provide all that kind of stuff to make sure that your business is running, especially we supporting it as well. Because sometimes if you have some of the stuff but it's not supported, sometimes it doesn't run like you would expect it to. And the biggest thing here is just to clean up. I mean, at the end of the year, I know it's busy, but if you get downtime, just make sure the place looks clean. Clean up the cabling, clean up the dust, and just make sure your place looks sanitized, because when people are running around like crazy, you don't want them to be looking around at just a dirty store. So it's good to make sure everything's clean. All right. Next thing is going to be best practices to make your year-end reports easy. So this is again going to make sure that your reporting is not only accurate, but is easy to read and all that kind of fun stuff as well. Again, like I said, cycle counting will make your inventory a lot more accurate. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to run your year-end reporting for your inventory and see that you've been selling an item for negative $1 million% margin. That would be very bad to see, which is possible. And next, we'll be talking about kind of like setting up monthly preset reports, which is totally possible, very easy to do. We have a lot of articles on that, a lot of things to help you guys, walk you through that. We have our entire support team as well. But nice, there's a ton of reporting that you can set up by just hitting one button, and it just runs all your reports that you need at the end of the month, as well as end of the year. Again, reviewing your department margins and GM ROI are great. Department margins is a huge thing, kind of like I was saying before. You don't want to find that you've been selling a ton of your items at negative margin right at the end of the year. That's a huge bummer. Archive end of month backup files. So throw them in a folder, throw them in a flash drive. Some of these year-end reports can only be ran at the end of year. You don't want to email it to your accountant or someone like that and then have it get lost, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, I don't know where it's at, right? And you either have to call us, we have to restore an old backup. It's a huge hassle. Easy to throw it on a flash drive, throw it in a drawer, keep it in a safe place in a file system on your computer, email it to multiple people. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you want to make sure it's archived at least somewhere. Check and free up some disk space. This is also very important. Your computer stores, well, especially your server computer, stores backups every single day. Every single day it backs up your entire system and stores it on your computer locally. Now, some of you guys with a lot larger databases than others, that can add up really fast over time, and it can impact a lot of different things like computer performance and making Paladin just run smoother. So totally help kind of free up that disk space, makes things a lot easier. If you need help with that at all, totally reach out to us as well. We're more than happy to help you kind of clean things out. Keep the operating system updated. This is also very important. Windows is releasing patches all the time. Some have been less friendly than others, but recently they've been a little bit better. So it's not a bad idea to get everything updated. If it's something that you could care less to do, we do offer a patch service that will do this for you. We monitor every single patch that comes out, and we'll make sure it's somewhat stable before your computer gets it, but we'll manage all of that for you. So give us a call if you're interested in doing that, but it is important to make sure you do it. And on portal.paladin POS is where you can kind of read up on all of our new features, because we usually do kind of an end of year little update package. All right, next up, we want to set up, test, and automate preset reports. So all of this information, I won't necessarily run through all of it, but this is kind of how you set up automated reports. This is all pulled directly from our knowledge base article. So if you guys are interested in doing this, either come back and review this webinar or go onto our knowledge base article website and just type in automate reports or automated reports. You'll get something very similar to this, and it'll kind of walk you through everything you need to do just to click one button, or just say, hey, every day at 11 o'clock at night, run these reports, or in the morning, or whatever you prefer. And this is kind of just the second half of this, but very cool. It's very nice to see that you can just do nothing and all your reports are there, and they'll be there in the morning, or that they'll print off at the end of the night. All right, so this is one of the most important things on this webinar, and these are the end of year reports. I would recommend that every single store has the first two reports on this list, the inventory valuation summary report and the accounting summary report, to be on your automated, the first two on your automated. If you already got some on there, it doesn't really matter where they're at, but I really would prefer them to be on there, because the reason for it is that these two reports can only be ran at the end of the fiscal year. So you most likely want to run them at the end of the day of the fiscal year. But this is that report that I was telling you about, where if you don't run it and you wait till March, we would have to go back in time essentially to get these reports. And sometimes that can cost data work. Sometimes your computer doesn't have the backup for that, and it makes things incredibly difficult to get. So you always want to make sure that those are just one click of a button and you've got many of them. But a little bit less ones that don't necessarily matter, because you can run them at certain specific times that you set, which would be the period comparative revenue report and the inventory count list. So these two are the ones that you can run for any time, for a specific time period, but these are also incredibly important, reports for your accounting teams to have. But again, just to summarize, I really want you to have at least inventory valuation summary report and accounting summary report set up to either automatically run, or you can just push a button and they will run. Because people forget, some things happen, it's not the end of the world, but you don't want it to be a problem. That somewhat concludes our end of year reports webinar. Next one we got coming up, which is going to be our first 2022 webinar. How crazy, how fast this year went. We'll have an update on it eventually. We kind of not sure exactly what we want to do yet for it, but we'll put something out soon. You'll see them on the Paladin point of sale webinars, how you kind of got here today. You'll see it pop up there. Here's again the end of where we see a lot of our stuff. So any information that you guys want, feel free to get tiered on any of these links. Again, you'll see it on portal.paladinpos.com /webinar/retail science, or you'll see our knowledge base article there. besides that, I think we got everything. Does anybody have any questions at all? Don't think I see anything, but if anything pops up in your mind, feel free to reach out to us here at Paladin. I'm more than happy to kind of answer any of your guys' questions, and if you have any questions on the year-end reporting. So you guys have a good day, and have a Merry Christmas. See you later.